Morning, y'all. Another before work hunt this morning. So, going back in where I've seen some birds a few times this year. Got one bird out of here, but there's a couple more, I think. So, we'll see. Oh, man. I hate leaving gobbling birds, but I just had a really good feeling those birds just weren't going to come in. They were a long way off. They weren't responding to my calling. They were gobbling really good, just not to me. So, and I know, even though they were far away off, or they were far distance off, I know that they could hear me. They should have been able to hear me as loud as I was calling. So, the fact that they weren't responding to me, I've played that Border Wars game enough to know that, you know what, sometimes it's just better to back out, go someplace else, try them another day. So, that's what we're doing. Well, it didn't work. I knew there's a gobbler in here. Came in here and sat down. Well, came in here and called. And a bird gobbled not far from me. I sat down. Gobbler came 4 more times at me, but he never could get fired up. Sounds like there's a couple of them. Damn. It's that time for me to go to work. Good morning, y'all. Another beautiful sunrise. Beautiful, beautiful sunrise. So, hopefully we'll hear something gobble here in the next couple minutes. He's a bird I found earlier this year. I watched him beat up 2 Longbeards, but he doesn't have a beard. Him and 3 jakes and a hen. They're just out in this field from me, about 65, 70 yards. The sun just popped out from this rain, so they're sitting there braining. They're headed my direction. So pretty. Got a super bright head. The sun's hitting him just right. Very, very pretty bird. Are you freaking kidding me? Something just spooked him into the woods with me. And because the strutter doesn't have a beard, doesn't have much of a beard, I couldn't tell which one was him. I think he was the close one though. There's my strutter from earlier. I don't know if you can see it, but there's another strutter out there too. And then 3 jakes. And that hen is walking off. Alright, so after the bird I was on, the strutter with the 3 jakes, there was another strutter in this field, and he went out after that strutter. Well, when he did, his hen walked off and walked kind of back in my direction. I don't know where she went. I hope she went around the corner. And the first strutter I was on walked around the back side of the other strutter, and they're now all walking towards me, 2 jakes and the 2 strutters. Kind of feeding their way towards me. shot there pretty good ways, but because that dude does not play around. He sees another strutter in his area and he freaking goes after it. I watched him earlier this year whip up on 2 Longbeards. 2. I mean, just had those things running. Man, I wish I had my big camera right now with the zoom on it, watching these things come across this sunny field. It's so pretty. Now, the younger Tom is in front. Man, holy crap. I got the one. I got the big boy. God, I'm shaking. There's the big boy is 2-year-old. Get up to the back side of this property, there's a field back there. That's a private field. And I've seen this bird in it a couple times and some other longbeards in there. So I know there's, a couple of birds that were back there. And go into the back of the field and I'm sitting there for a while. I'm like, man, I know there's going to be a bird. When this rain lets up, there's going to be a bird that's going to come out to this field. Sure enough, it happened. And rain had let up. I'd called a few times, hadn't heard anything. So I was packing up and easing my way on back out. And I looked out deeper into the field and there's a couple birds working my way. So I'm like, all right. And sitting there watching them, and they're working down the field. They kind of stopped angling my way, so I called and they started working towards me. So let me back up a little bit. This bird right here, I've seen him a few times, and I know it's him because he has almost no visible beard. And he's a boss hog bird though, as far as how he acted. And the first time I'd seen him, he actually chased off 2 Longbeards. And so I'm thinking, this guy's a hoss. He's a fighter. He's a good bird. And so let's fast forward to this morning. So he comes in with 3 jakes and a hen, and they're just on the private side, and he's in strut, so I can tell which one is which. Well, then something happens. I don't know if a hawk flew over. I heard some kind of noise, but I was paying attention to these guys and what I could do to try to improve my situation. And all of a sudden, they all start running into the woods. So I see the hen go, and I see her gray head, and then I see all these just red heads bobbing, and I'm like, oh my God, which one do I shoot? Because there was no swinging beard to really tell me which one to shoot. So I'm trying to find the jake that didn't have there was a couple of jakes with some longer beards on them. I'm trying to find those 2 and eliminate which one I can shoot. And they go scurrying off into the woods, and I don't get a shot. And I had all 5 of those birds within 30 yards of me. And that kind of sucked, because I was thinking, man, that might have been my chance, but I just didn't want to. I didn't feel comfortable with the shot, so I didn't shoot. And so I go slipping up very, very carefully to them, to where they had run off, and I see the hen. She's sitting up on a blowdown preening, and then she hops down, and I work up a little bit farther, and I see this guy, and he's sitting there strutting. And I'm like, all right. And so for the next, I killed a Tacticam battery. So 2.5 hours, I was on these birds, tailing them, and went about 50 yards away the entire time, just creeping through the woods as they were creeping forward. They were scratching and pecking and feeding on, and I was just right behind them, just trying to get a good shot. And every time he would step into an opening where I'd have a clear shot at him, I didn't have the gun ready. By the time I'd get the gun ready, I wouldn't have that clear shot. So I just never felt comfortable with shooting. And all of a sudden they start moving off a little bit faster, and I'm like, crap, now I gotta roll. I gotta try to figure out how I'm gonna get to these things here. And so I go hunting around in the woods, and I don't see him. And my plan was honestly just to maybe bump him and see if I couldn't pick out the one that had the redder head, because through the woods he had a bright red head when he was in strut. So that was my hope, but no turkey. So I go up and I'm start working my way back, and there's a little private or a public field there, and I look out into that public field, and sure enough, there he is walking across the public field with the 3 jakes and the hen. And I look out into the field, and there's another Longbeard out there, and they're all making a beeline at a pretty good clip towards him. I tried to get it with the gun camera. I hope that it picked that up, and I wasn't shaking too bad. But so he goes running out there to that other bird, that other Longbeard, and that other Longbeard just, like, he was in full strut when I first saw him, and as he got closer, he just deflated, and just like crouched down, and then he came running around him, and I actually started pushing him my way. Well, when he did that, I started calling to him, and the other Longbeard gobbled a couple times, and started very, very slowly working his way towards me. And so he was working his way towards me, got up to about 45 yards or so, and there was a bunch of honeysuckle in my way, and I couldn't get a good shot at him. And I was waiting for him just to keep on coming. If he kept on coming, I had a nice clear opening, and it was going to be at about a 30-yard chip shot, so I was hoping for that. But he stops about the 45-yard mark, and that other bird, this bird, is still out there. I laser rangefinder. He was about 100 yards out, and he starts working his way up towards him, and works up his way towards the other Longbeard that was standing there, chases him off, and he's standing there right where the other bird had been, and since I had rangefined him, I knew he was 45 yards. So I slip around the tree, stand up, and take my shot. And they're not all trophies. This guy, 2-year-old. 2-year-old spurs. I'll be lucky if they push 3/4. But damned if I haven't seen him chase off a bunch of other birds. This dude might in age, he's either a dwarf or he is just one badass SOB, man, because the way that other gobbler, which was a big bird, I think he was bigger than this one, in size-wise, and the way he just cowed down to him and went running off, this dude was a fighter. This dude was the boss. Regardless of what those spurs say, this was the boss of the woods. So they're all trophies. They're all trophies, and this one is no exception. After spending so much time with him, so close to him all morning, I love this stuff. I love it, love it, love it.